You've been associated with ICF for almost like 1.5 decades. How has this been for you?
If I remember correctly, we had about 8,000 members.
Yeah.
We are 61,000 members now. We are predominantly North American. We're present in 157 countries right now. We had about 1,000 credentialed coaches. We're nearing 60,000 credentialed coaches. And my favorite statistic, there were 5 of us, 5 staff persons. And I have now a team of about 110.
I tell people that coaching is an ego diffuser.
We're talking about 7 generations in a workplace at the same time.
Wow.
That's scary. This is where coaching comes to play. This is where coaching mindset is so important. This is that ability to have coaching conversation, no matter if it's on Zoom, Teams, whatever, but to have a coaching conversation and to truly listen to what's needed and respond in kind.
Past, you have led several associations as well. What shift have you observed in yourself as a person?
You get older, you just chill a little bit more. But coaching is transformative. Becoming a coach was a phenomenal journey of, self-reflection, self-discovery. I'm a coach junkie. I love working with coaches. I always work with a coach, and I like working with different styles, different backgrounds, different approaches. It's just phenomenal because every single one stretches you in a different way. So I think that coaching is actually needed more than ever because there are bridges being burned and now we have to rebuild them. And we need to rebuild them in a different way. Different style of leadership is absolutely necessary. Command and control doesn't work anymore. The contribution, you talk about contribution, especially again, younger generation.
Welcome to the podcast, The Ex-Monk's Drive. I'm your host, Gaurav Arora. I started my coaching practice almost like 18 years back when not many people knew about coaching. And today, I had the privilege and the honor and the delight of sitting next to the CEO of International Coach Federation, Magdalena Mook. And when I today look back at my life, I did not expect that in this way. In that conversation, we discussed about the different phases of coaching that coaching has gone through in the world and what you can expect from coaching in the years to come, how coaching is going to grow and impact the world that we are a part of. So let's take a dive and listen to Magda Mook.
You know, she had 2 choices to choose gray color or the teal color because Ericsson represents teal color, so she has chosen Ericsson color.
Obviously.
All right. Thank you so much, Magda. Such a pleasure having you here. Is this your second, third visit to India?
5th.
5th visit to India. Fantastic. And you were in Bangalore. You were speaking at the NHRD conference, annual conference. Yeah. Last time you were supposed to be, and that did
Calcutta,
not materialize. Yeah.
That was like your day, only worse because I never made that trip.
You know, when I started my coaching journey, I'm talking about mid-2000. I was like a young lad on the block. At that point in time, there was only one ICF Hyderabad chapter.
Yeah.
And I joined as a member, took over as the director membership. I took over as the president of this ICF Hyderabad chapter.
Right.
At that point in time, if somebody would have asked me, Gaurav, would you ever get an opportunity to sit next to the CEO of International Coach Federation? I would have said, not even in my imagination. Truly an honor for me. You've been associated with ICF for almost like 1.5 decades, if my memory supports me.
20 years this year.
20 years this year. And ICF is almost like 30 years in the game.
It is exactly 30 years.
30 years, yeah. 1995, Sandy Villas and all the other stalwarts, Thomas, Leonard and Terry, Belf and Perry, and a couple of other people came together. I had the privilege of interviewing all these people during my tenure as the president. How has this been for you? When you entered that, ICF was not that big.
Not at all. We had, if I remember correctly, we had about 8,000 members.
Yeah.
We are 61,000 members now. We are predominantly North American. We're present in 157 countries right now. We had about 1,000 credentialed coaches. We're nearing 60,000 credentialed coaches. And my favorite statistic, there were 5 of us, 5 staff persons. And I have now a team of about 110. So that tells you a little bit about the growth of the organization for sure.
Wow. You know, if you look at the last 20 years, Magda, what was the vision then? And how has that evolved in the last 20 years?
This is the most perhaps surprising, but to me very reassuring fact, the vision didn't change. We tweaked the language a little bit, but still coaching and ICF is about, well, ICF is about coaching becoming integral part of a thriving society. Coaching is a catalyst for people to be happier, for planet to be a better place. So the founding mothers and fathers of the organization did have that amazing foresight already then.
Yeah.
And conversely, they also had the foresight to call the organization international from the very beginning. They did have that belief, they did have that conviction that coaching will be a global phenomenon.
Wow.
And look, 30 years later, and 30 years in the life of the association, organization, is not long at all. And look where we are. Look where the awareness of coaching is.
Yeah.
Look where the application of coaching is. And I think that thanks to all of you, the training programs, every single coach, we are where we are. And that's just amazing.
Yeah. You know, this is truly amazing because every time when people ask me, Gaurav, what do you do? And tell me about your coaching journey, I don't tell them that I don't talk about the credentials that I have because that's a byproduct of, if you continue to do what you're doing, there's a certain byproducts that you get. So all the credentials that I've been blessed with, I think those are the byproducts. I always call myself as an evangelist of coaching,
Yes.
right? And I just love knocking the door, talking about what coaching is and what it is not. In the last 5 years, and I would love to know more about being a little selfish, that what is it that, how has the focus of ICF changed for India and the Asian region? That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, there is a greater focus on Indian market for sure, and there are several factors coming to it. First, because the economy, of course, and the country has such a phenomenal potential, growing so fast. Awareness of coaching growing very significantly. The acceptance of coaching, the application of coaching, especially in large-scale organizations and corporations, is great. The number of accredited coaching education providers growing. So these are all signals from the market that the market is ready.
Yeah.
We've been present in the India market for a long time.
Yeah.
You mentioned 2000 for yourself, and yet it was a slow progress. And we observe it in other markets as well. The market has to be ready. You can help to develop the market, but it has to be that critical mass. It has to be that potential for snowball effect.
Yeah.
And it is happening in India, definitely.
Definitely. I remember 2013 was when we organized the first international conference. And we had Fiona
Yes.
coming down to India. And at that point in time, we had 180 people, total members in India. Total 180 people, right? Who were a part of the ICF Hyderabad chapter I'm talking about. And it was a mammoth task. My teacher, Dr. Marilyn Atkinson, she talks about the tipping point.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we are talking about, the critical mass. Now, another very interesting thing that is so visible in the market today is that at one point in time, the coaching was primarily for the C-suite executives. And then in the second wave, we started talking about bringing coaching to the managers. And now we are talking about coaching, creating the coaching culture.
Yes.
Now, in the domain of bringing coaching in organizations, what is it that ICF is doing? And if you can just share some data with us, how is it impacting the organizations?
Right. So there are several things that ICF is doing, including creation of the special division, if you will, of ICF for coaching in organizations specifically. We do a lot of research about the application of coaching in organizations, and we also collect a lot of data about the efficacy of coaching in organizations. Nothing speaks louder than good examples of great successes. So the case studies, the award that we have, the Impact Award that recognizes organizations that use coaching for their strategic initiatives, and also to help organizations understand what coaching cultures are. What does it mean to build coaching culture? What are the steps? What are the elements of the kind of rubric for coaching in organizations, and especially speaking about the outcomes, speaking about the benefits for organizations that adopt coaching cultures. It is a strategic solution. It is the business proposition.
Yeah.
We know from our research that, and you can find a lot of this research on our website, coachingfederation.org. We know that organizations with strong coaching cultures realize better financial results than organizations in the same sector on a similar size. We know that they are more attractive to new employees. We know that they retain employees better. We know that they build the leadership capacity within. Agility is much greater in those organizations. So these are all elements of this healthy culture of the organization that frankly can be translated very quickly into savings or additional gains from the perspective of a business, because after all, those businesses are businesses.
Yeah. I can so much resonate with that, because at one point in time, and we still run public programs where people come nominate themselves and get themselves certified. Now, at one point in time, it was a status thing that even I would like to call myself a coach. Now, it is becoming a need, right? It's not just another certificate to have. It is something that you can actually leverage. It does not only allow you to become a better professional, it allows you to become a better human being.
Absolutely.
It allows you, right? And, be it our work with, in fact, you were speaking about the awards, right? JK organization, they got the Prism Award, and Ericsson was involved in putting together the coaching culture there.
Yes.
Currently, we are working with organizations like in Tata Steel. We have trained a series of people. We have trained an army of people in the space of coaching, right? With
6,000
Steel Authority
to
of
be
India.
exact.
Yes. In Steel Authority of India, we have trained a lot of people. So you have the numbers for Tata Steel as well. I'm really happy. We have trained people from Steel Authority of India, Air India, Virtusa. There are so many, Perfetti. All these organizations are moving together. They are marching together to ensure that we have got the coaching culture. Now the question is, and that's what I'm really intrigued about, because the advent of AI, let's try and understand the dent it has created in organizations. Expression is getting compromised because people experience a sense of fear within themselves. If tomorrow I would have a job, that's one. Connections are getting compromised because of the hybrid nature of work that we have, right? Not all the organizations, they are working in person. And because of that, I think somewhere deep down, as an individual, as a manager, as a leader, as a supervisor, I have this sense of that, am I contributing enough to my team members? So the three basic desires of expression, connection, and contribution, all three are getting compromised. Now, considering that, what do you think? What role can coaching play in reactivating expression, further strengthening connections, and contributing to the whole concept of contribution?
So I will challenge a little bit what you said. I think that especially for younger generations, virtual is what they know.
Yeah.
Virtual is what they like.
What they like.
And they connect differently. And this is where, and they contribute differently. And this is where AI is actually helping rather than distracting. Having said that, we're talking about 7 generations in a workplace at the same time. 7.
Wow.
That's scary. That's slightly scary, and this is where coaching comes to play. This is where coaching mindset is so important. This is that ability to have coaching conversation, no matter if it's on Zoom, Teams, whatever, but to have a coaching conversation and to truly listen to what's needed and respond in kind. So I think that coaching is actually needed more than ever, because there are bridges being burned, and now we have to rebuild them. And we need to rebuild them in a different way. Different style of leadership is absolutely necessary. Command and control doesn't work anymore. The contribution, you talk about contribution, especially again, younger generations, they want to feel that they contribute and that their contribution matters. They want to connect with the purpose of the organization, and therefore the leader has to know how to express that.
Beautiful.
And coaching helps that clarity of statement, clarity of strategy, and clarity of execution.
Beautiful. This reminds me of two things. One is, I read it, there's nothing in the world that cannot be revived with a conversation. So this
Correct.
quote comes to me,
Communication, right?
right? And I remember my conversation with Sir John Whitmore, right? I interviewed him on my podcast, the first podcast that I had. It was known as Coaching Matters. Now I asked Sir John Whitmore, I said, Master, help me understand. How would you define coaching? And the deep baritone voice that he had, and the childlike curiosity, and he would laugh, ha, 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 ha. He said something so beautiful. He said coaching is the process of facilitating a positive and a progressive shift from where the person is to where he would like to be by creating self-awareness
Yes.
that enables self-responsibility. And he said coaching is the most natural form of conversation. Now, considering we are talking about leveraging coaching to create a culture, what are the primary challenges that the organizations are experiencing, that it's high time we need to address that and question the assumptions we are operating from, because it's a mindset thing.
Yeah. You just said it, assumption and mindset.
Yeah.
And the assumptions are often, and again, we know it from our research, it's too expensive, it takes too long, it doesn't always work, or conversely, it's a silver bullet, it's going to solve all the problems on the face of this earth. We can train everybody. We can make it work no matter what. And actually, all of those assumptions, each single one of them and all of them together, are not true.
Yeah.
It is a journey. Building coaching culture in organizations is a journey, and every organization is slightly different. ICF has many resources to kind of talk in general terms about the steps, about the elements, but every organization has it a little bit differently, right? From the first step of convincing the powers and decision makers that that's something that should be done, to having a good plan that can be executed, and have these milestones and expectations built properly, so there are no disappointments. And they are not like, oh, let's scratch this program because it's not working. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight.
I just love it, and I tell people that coaching is an ego diffuser.
Yes.
It's a diffuser. It diffuses ego. And as you've just mentioned, the last point is that it's the power game that's happening in the organization, which is like, it's like a firewall that will not allow you to enter the space where you scratch my back, I scratch your back, right? And it's like the system has been designed, it has been domesticated in a way that the moment you try to disrupt it, right, it's going to throw you out.
Oh yeah, that's a systemic principle, right? You're always going to be thrown out first before you are allowed to come back.
Yeah. So Magda, in your experience, and tomorrow we are going to visit one of the organizations as well. We'll be talking about this. But if just for everyone's understanding, if you just share with us, what are the phases when we are talking about creating the culture? I'm sure there will be certain phases.
Yeah, so again, it probably depends a little bit on the organization. But the first one is to have the plan. And that plan has to be executable, and you have to know and be realistic about what it's going to take, resources, financial and human. You have to have a buy-in from a decision makers. Without the good backup, you probably can't do anything, or it's going to be very, very difficult. Mindset is seriously important, because when you talk about coaching culture, that means that coaching is not available only to C-suite, only to top echelon of the organization. That's not the culture for the organization. Coaching has to trickle down to younger people, to maybe high potentials, to maybe first-time managers.
So true.
Some talk about utilizing coaching in onboarding new people, right? So you have to be prepared to do that. An extremely important element, be prepared and ready to measure the impact of coaching. Otherwise, it's going to be easy to just eliminate the program, right? If, for example, your champion, your executive sponsor says say retires, and the next one doesn't have the same view on coaching, that's easy to eliminate unless you have a good data on how coaching improved whatever needed to be improved or accelerated the change that you were hoping to observe.
It's absolutely, I can so much resonate with that because one, it's not at all a silver bullet, as you said it, right? Using the same metaphor, it's not a panacea that is going to solve everything in an organization. It requires investment of time, energy, of course, money, and a hope, right? It requires a mindset. It's not at all easy. Reminds me of two things, right? I remember we were working with Tata Steel.
Yes.
And they gave us the reason why they would want us to bring in the coaching culture. We have got this data is saying that the employee engagement is missing, especially in different levels, IL1, IL2, IL3, IL4, different impact leaders, 1, 2, 3. At this level, there's a huge gap when it comes to employee engagement. At this level, this is what the challenge is. Now, can it be solved with coaching? Okay, let's make an attempt. Now, it was a 3 to 4 years journey. So that means the organization has to be willing to invest time, which is not easily available. That's one. It's not easy. Why am I saying that? I know that I'm making this statement. It's not easy third time, because a few days back I was sitting with one of my team members. I said, Karan, are you sure your team is effective enough to deliver on what we are supposed to be delivering here? He said, yes. He said, Gaurav, help me understand. You often talk about trust. I said, we can only build trust in an organization where people start to take responsibilities of their deliverables as well. Now, that's a dilemma, right? That's a dilemma. Where should we begin? Should we talk about that, okay, I'm willing to trust, now let's deliver? Or should it begin from where team members are taking the responsibilities so that the leadership team and the management, then they're okay to trust the 100%? It's like a chicken and egg, right? Where should we begin?
There is this saying about trust being earned or trust being given. My philosophy is give trust. Give trust. There is no reason not to trust people from the beginning. And trust solves just about every problem if you have clarity of what's expected of a team. If the expectation is by the end of this week you're gonna deliver X, and they do, I don't care if they are late. I really don't. I trust that they plan their work in such a way that the expected deliverable will be there on time and of high quality. If it's not, then we have a conversation. But see, this is, you mentioned mindset, and this is something that I'm really keen on exploring further, and it is that it's not just the mindset of a leader. It's a mindset of the workforce. If the workforce is not ready for coaching, we have to work on that first. And trust, again, is very important, because if you're bringing coaching to organization and people think like, what is it? Is that this camera on me, that coach? Or is it really something that is meant to help me develop as a person and as a professional? Right? Earlier in a approval acceptance of coaching, we often heard people saying, what happened to my manager? I come to her or him with the question, and they ask me a question back. That their job is to know, not ask questions. Well, yeah, if you consider that old style of leadership, right? Because it's not only old style of leadership, it's an old style of receiving leadership. So unless and until there is enough trust in the organization to say, listen, this is not remedial, we're not trying to fix you, we're not trying to coach you out of trouble, we are investing in you as an individual, as a human person, so that you can deliver and you can operate at the higher level. That's my position.
I just love it when she said at the human level. And that's where I would like to actually slow down. The other day, I was talking to Preeti, and I said something, and we all have triggers, and coaching is a way to bring in awareness. As Sir John Whitmore said, by building awareness, that's not at all an easy journey. Why am I sharing that? Because it appears that you go through the program, you get a stamp in place, and you can call yourself a coach. It's not that easy. It's in true sense, it's like peeling off the skin that has served you in the past. And now a new concept that we bring an experience to, that's asking you to do things that you have not done in the past. It's not the first time that you have been leading an association. In the past, you have led several associations as well. What shift have you observed in yourself as a person?
It's come older. I'm older now, You get older, you just chill a little bit more. But seriously, coaching is transformative. And becoming a coach, which I am, it was a phenomenal journey of self-reflection, self-discovery. I'm a systemically trained coach, so this is even more so, in my opinion. But I'll be honest, the biggest impact was my very first relationship with the professional coach. I shared this with some colleagues earlier, that I'm still friends with my very first coach. I'm a coach junkie. I love working with coaches. I always work with a coach, and I like working with different styles, different backgrounds, different approaches. It's just phenomenal because every single one stretches you in a different way. But my very first coach, Beth, I called her sometime later, and I said, Beth, I have to apologize to you. And she was like, for what? I said, I was not a very available client. I said, now I understand when you try to take me to a deeper levels of a coaching conversations, I wasn't ready for it. I had no idea what the heck you were doing. And that to me was a very clear sign of that deeper awareness of self, that deeper exploration of self, and ability to, in a split second, stop and think and listen, truly listen to yourself or others, to really hear what the question might be, or to hear what the pain point might be, or to hear what the opportunity might be. And I think that that listening skill, and not pretending that you know it all, we don't know it all, and being very comfortable with not knowing it all is really refreshing to self, because I don't have to know it all. And I think refreshing to those that you work with, because that, in my opinion, immediately shows the respect for their knowledge, expertise, or innovative thinking and creativity, even if they don't have an experience. So yeah, I definitely lead this organization very differently than the ones before, where there was more transactional, I would say, rather than relationship-based.
Thank you, Magda. And it's not at all an easy journey to be a coach, right? It's a lifetime journey. It's like climbing a mountain without a top. Right? So with this, we are coming to the end of the session, ladies and gentlemen.
I just loved this conversation. I'm sure even you did. Please do write to us in case you would like to know more about coaching, and I look forward to interacting with you and explore the expansive world of coaching. For the time being, please take this moment to subscribe us on YouTube, click on the bell button, and follow us on Spotify and YouTube. And I look forward to meeting you again next week with yet another interesting guest. Stay tuned.